Get to showing that.
Call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m.
You can shut off that speaker.
Okay. Yeah, you muted me. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the open session minutes of May 3rd, 2021?
Make a motion to approve the open session minutes of May 3rd, 2021.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. And one more motion to approve the executive session minutes of May 3rd, 2021.
Aye. Can we table that one? I don't think I've written that one up.
Yeah,
So yes,
that ought to be tabled.
We will table those.
thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to student comments. Welcome, Owen, in person.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me tonight. More so tonight than usual, as it is my last meeting, but I will try to make it a good one. All right, so these next few weeks will be very busy at Nipmuc, as this week the sophomores and those juniors that opted in will be taking the mathematics MCAS exam on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So good luck to them. In the next 2 weeks, seniors will be wrapping up AP tests and finishing our final days at Nipmuc, myself included. On Friday night, our celebrations kicked off with Senior Fest. It was a great night with a food truck, yard games, and a fantastic hypnotist. That pizza was hard to beat. It was like a wood burn oven right in the courtyard of the school. Very nice, very good. We are looking forward to the upcoming senior events, which include, but are not limited to, the senior art show, the senior pops, which is both the band and the chorus, the senior breakfast, and the senior walk. And my last little bit of news is a big congratulations to Alexis Schwartzberg and Elisa Wang, 2 Nipmuc freshman students who were awarded 2nd place for 9th graders at the state level for their project developing an app to track litter and raise awareness about pollution. Over the span of a short time, they learned how to program an app and took their concept from the page to make it a reality. eCyber Mission is providing each of these students a $500 savings bond in recognition of their hard work. And before I hand it back to the board, I would just like to say that over the course of these past 2 years, it has been an honor to serve as the student representative at these meetings, and I will miss it a great deal. So thank you all very much for the opportunity. It has been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Owen.
Thank you, Owen, for all your updates. We appreciate hearing from you every meeting, and we wish you luck in the future. Congratulations on your graduation.
You shouldn't have. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Owen. Terrific job as always.
You guys did so much.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to community comments. Anyone? Seeing none in the room. If there is anyone watching on Zoom who'd like to be brought into the room to comment, raise your hand. No hands.
I see no hands.
We will move on to superintendent's comments.
Okay.
All right, let me mute myself again.
Okay, first and foremost, as we do every year, per our school committee policy on school choice plus Mass General Law, we have to do a public accounting before June 1st and then before September 1st for school choice openings that we have for the following school year. So at Clough, we will have 5 openings just in kindergarten, at Memorial, and we've talked about it through the budget process. We're looking like we're going to have a fairly significant enrollment increase there, 0. At Misco Hill, we've got 14 openings in grade 5 and 8 in grade 7. And then at Nipmuc, 1 opening in grade 9 and 1 in grade 12. I think a lot of this is also subject to change because, as we'll be talking about very, very shortly, we've got the override vote in Mendon tomorrow, and there's a certain degree of uncertainty that goes along with that. So should any of the numbers change, again, in usually that first meeting that we have coming back after the July break in August, we will do a recounting of what the school choice numbers are. Second piece that I have is really good news. I just sent this out, I believe, over the weekend. But we received news towards the end of next week that the Worcester County Vaccination Collaborative will be doing another student vaccination clinic for our kids 12 and older. And it'll be this coming Saturday, May 22nd from 10 to 2. Right now, there's 500 openings, but it's very easily expandable to be 1,000 openings. It will be the Pfizer vaccine. So the first dose will be this coming Saturday, the 22nd, and the second will be Saturday, June 12th. So again, it's open to all of our students that are 12 and older. And as I put in the background notes, every student, along with a parent, gets a free lunch. I think they're going to have like 3 food trucks there, plus an ice cream truck. So it's a good incentive. I know Leslie McGinnis is really excited in organizing this with the collaborative, and they've also invited Governor Baker. Whether he's going to show up or not, we don't know, but I think it's a really, really good opportunity for the parents of our middle school and high school students who have not been vaccinated yet to get a vaccine.
Is there a sign up for that, or is it just?
Yeah, I sent everybody a link in the email. I'll send one out again tomorrow, but it's a super organized system, through the state to sign up. Next thing that, I'm going to turn things over to Jay, and Jay's been investigating this, but it looks like we have yet another opportunity to save electricity. We're doing extremely well with our solar program. In fact, now that it's 100% up and running. But Jay has found out about this new National Grid demand response incentive program. So could you talk a little bit about that, Jay?
Yeah, so I had a call with National Grid last Monday. It's a program where, in essence, if you reduce your capacity over a window of about 3 hours, about 3 or 4 times over the course of the summer, they basically pay you for that reduction. So they had a printout of our usage that showed that, for example, nights and weekends, our capacity drops. So if we can shift and manually turn our entire system to the night and weekend settings, we automatically will do that. And then they'll pay us money. So I need to find out more about specific details. My question to them was, well, what if we just shut the power off for 3 hours? That would reduce capacity. And they basically said, sure. Then about 20 minutes later, the power did go out. So that was kind of a little twist to everything. But so they have 3 different programs. One is this window of 3 hours a couple of times in the summer. Another one is a 30-minute window, once in December, once in July, I think. And the third one is just overall. We can participate in all three, and they projected what we potentially could save if we can pull this off. So I talked to Ken this morning. We absolutely can go to manual mode in order to accomplish this. So it's just a matter of working out some of the logistics. We also work with a company called Overview that's helped us with securing our electricity and gas supplies. And they are also aware of this program and are looking to see if there's any other opportunities for us to save even more. While I'm talking about electricity, I did the math earlier today. As I told you at our last meeting, our electric bills for the month of April for all 4 buildings was 0 because of the net metering cap. So we in essence saved about $27,000, but we're going to pay about $14,000 for the solar power. But there's a savings of around $13,000 just for that 1 month window. Now, April's a great solar month, but anyway, so that's something else that I'm really happy about.
So just so I understand, Jay, we save because we're not buying electricity from the electric company, but we are buying it from the company that put the solar panel.
Right, so the way it works is we get an electric bill that says you used X amount of kilowatts, here's your charge. But now we have a credit because we get credits for this solar production, and that offsets the charges and actually reduced it down below 0. I think we had about 600-hour credits in alone. But then we have to pay for the solar power, that's our contract. But we're only paying about 9.5 cents for the solar power as opposed to around 18 cents, which is what we get in the credit and what we would be charged from National Grid. So it's a pretty dramatic savings, and we've got 2 different ground sites plus the carports at MISCO. So typically, we don't get a bill for electricity in MISCO from, I'd say, late March all the way through August. But we do pay, for the solar production there.
So that 27,000 that we saved from a net metering perspective, then in turn applies in a future month, or do they?
No. So in essence, we have a credit, it just carries over. Eventually, when we get to the winter, when solar production is down and our electricity usage is up, it'll offset those credits. But on a monthly basis, we do have substantial credits, probably about, I want to say about 4,000 or 5,000 per building per month that we get as credits pretty much annually.
Okay.
So it's worked out really well. I'm really happy with the way the solar power worked. And if we could do this capacity reduction program, which would bring other money back in. I mean, all that, the way I look at it, if somebody wants to give us money for basically not doing a whole lot, I think that's a really good program for us to look into. So I'm going to continue to explore and see what we can get out of it.
It's as if your meter turned backwards.
The solar power, yes.
So that's what they do. They offset the electricity usage instead of dollars.
Excellent. And then last but not least, you have in your packet the most current year-to-date expenditure report for the current FY21 budget. I know we're closing out. Do you have any commentary on that, Jay?
At this point, we're in pretty good shape. I've never really done this in the past, but I've sort of set a deadline of this Friday for the last day that we'll send out purchase orders and continue to order stuff. The general theory on that is that if we haven't ordered something by the end of this week, we got 3 weeks left, we probably don't need it anymore. So that should help us a little bit in the closeout process. I think, pretty confidently state at this point that I think we're pretty good with our snow and ice, and we're probably done. So that's a good sign. Other than that, budget-wise, I think we're in pretty good shape. So we'll see how it all closes out in the end, because a lot of what happens as we close it out will determine, what we can do down the road, not necessarily next year, but in future years.
So if you look at the last 2 years, in comparison to this point in time, would you say we're in a, apologies, would you say we're in a better spot, or?
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
There's certain accounts that are very high. The sub accounts, as you notice, in all 4 buildings are really, really high, much higher than we budget. Snow and ice will offset that. Out of district tuition, we're still looking at. We've got lots of balls in the air as far as that goes. We've had a lot of maintenance issues recently. I mean, I'm always amazed at things that just break. And some of them are minor, you know, this morning alone, I met with Kent, we have the screen at the gym at Memorial that comes down that divides it in two, isn't going up and down anymore. The bleachers in this building aren't opening and closing properly. We had a drain here that was clogged last week, we had to have somebody come in. You know, the fire enunciator panel had to have some work done on it. The water treatment system at Clough has to have a new panel put in. So there's all these little things that just keep popping up, but all in all, I still think we're gonna be in okay shape as we close out the year. I don't see us having any major catastrophes. Great.
Joe, could you just a quick question on the school choice? You said depending on the result of the override vote, that could impact school choice. So can you just say how that would?
Sure, yeah. So I know that our principals are very, very sensitive to the simple fact that should the override be unsuccessful and we're looking at having to cut program services and staff, we don't want to add more choice openings to increase what will already be larger class sizes. So I think all of our principals were probably on the conservative side as far as making some judgments now, knowing that with the school choice issue, we have 2 windows to change it.
How many choice students do we have currently?
Currently, I believe the last time I checked it was something in the ballpark of about 142.
Any other questions, comments? Before we move on to subcommittee updates, policy subcommittee.
Okay, so in your packet for first read were 3 policies that need to be either updated or implemented into our policy manual in preparation for I'm sorry, what's the terminology?
Compliance
review. I knew there was like not curriculum review, it's something. Compliance review next year. So one of the policies discusses homeless students, another military students who are of military, have military parents, and students in foster care. Are there any questions or comments?
Did you highlight the changes in blue, or were those just the way I printed it?
I would assume that.
I think it's just your print.
I don't
I don't have any blue, I assume that's the way I printed it. So what are the changes in the policies for those brand new?
Let's see, for the children in foster care, I believe one change was that preschool students were added to that policy. Let's see, the military families, the JFABE, it was expanded to include something along the lines of retirement, death of a parent and active duty parents and that type of thing. So it's just updating of language. And homeless students, I am not absolutely
Homeless
positive.
students is much more comprehensive than the original template policy, which was from the early 2000s. And it kind of gets more into the services available, including transportation. No, it's only first reading. So next meeting will be second reading and vote for approval.
Any other questions about those policies? Move on to new business.
Okay, the first thing is just a real simple motion and vote to reaffirm Mendon-Upton as a school choice accepting district. It's kind of interesting under Mass General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B, which is the school choice law. The default position for all school districts is that you are a choice district, and actually, if you're going to choose to not accept students, then you on an annual basis have to have a formal vote to say we're not accepting anybody and have a specific reason. But you also are, from time to time, should be reaffirming your status as a school choice district. The last time that this committee formally did that was in 2018. So I get periodically the email from DESE saying, oh, when's the last time that your committee took a vote to reaffirm its school choice status? Hence, I put this on the agenda.
I make a motion to reaffirm our status as a school choice district.
Second.
Any discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye. Okay, the second issue is, again, Jay, I know, has alluded to this, but we are now in the process of taking to look at some actual costs for replacement of the boiler here at Nipmuc. We do not want to be in a situation where in the dead of the winter, things completely die and we will not be able to run school. So Jay, if you could talk a little bit about some of the estimates and then also the money that was put aside, I want to say at least 2 years ago now, in our capital stabilization funds.
Yeah. So we have worked out an arrangement with Habib and Associates, which is an architectural design company. They were the ones that helped us with the green repair project at NISCO. And they begin the preliminary research into what it's going to take to replace the boilers at Denmark. We've had continual problems, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. They're 25 years old, and quite honestly, I think they should last longer than this, but they clearly are not. They've cracked multiple times. They're not cast iron boilers, they're steel boilers. They have these big, long firing tubes that keep cracking. We keep welding them, they keep cracking, but we're getting to a point where we can't continue to weld them. Unfortunately, because of the timing of what we're looking at and the availability of products, this is not a project that's going to be able to be done until the summer of 2022. So we're going to have to get through next winter with our existing boilers. But the plan is to get a design put together to replace them and hopefully utilize the capital stabilization money that we set aside. So that money, if you remember, came from 2 extra years of MSBA reimbursement on the Nisco Hill Nipmuc project, specifically the Nisco Hill portion. So the debt was paid off, they still were reimbursing us. Both towns voted to allow us to set up the stabilization account. There's about $678,000 in there. I would expect there's probably about $1,500 in interest that would go into that as well. But the cost of this project and I asked the architect, just, give me a ballpark. What do you think something like this may run based on just what you've looked at? So he put together very, very preliminary. This is the potential of around $775,000. We've got $675,000, which means we would have to fund approximately $100,000, but it still has to go out to bid. The prices could go up or down. So all I really wanted was to put it on your radar screen that at some point we're going to be coming to you to ask to utilize and appropriate that money from stabilization to utilize for this project. The boilers are not going to last that much longer. I don't see us putting together a major capital bond project for another 2 or 3 years. But as Joe alluded to, we can't really have no heat in the building. John will be really cold. So anyway, it's just an FYI that this is something we're looking at. We just at the very preliminary stage of it right now.
Are we still having issues with the Nisco boilers as well?
No, I'm not really sure. That has been resolved. We had no problems this past winter. It was, those boilers are relatively new. They were replaced in 2015, I believe.
Yeah, then we had the issue in the winter of 18-19.
Yeah, that's right. We had no problems this past winter with them. We've taken some preventative measures by putting an additive in the oil that hopefully will keep them cleaner. But we think we've resolved it after extensive money and research. The problem with a lot of these things is when they go wrong, you have to experiment to find out what's wrong. It's not like you just open up and say, oh, the doohickeys broken, just fix that and you're all set. That's the technical term with the doohickey. So we just have to kind of play with it and see what we can do. So that's the plan, and part of that potentially could also be looking at the computer management system in in this building because it's antiquated, you can't get parts for it. The whole system here, for reasons nobody understands, was built on a pneumatic system, the HVAC system, as opposed to electronics. We would love to convert it to electronic system, but I'm not sure that we have money to do that right now. But that's something else that we're also looking at.
So the timing of this is probably, you'll be coming to us probably sometime in the fall of 2021 then.
Yeah, they're working on the design piece. We'll kind of, get that put together and start to think about it. Once we get actual, cost estimates, that's when we have an idea of what we're really looking at. And quite honestly, if it turns out that they come back to us and say, well, this is a, $2.5 million project, then we've got a problem. We're going to have to probably go to the towns for some help. But I'd like to hope that we can get through this and just apply that capital stabilization. So I asked them, do an estimate, but go on the high end. Don't give me like, this is the bare minimum, and then come back in a year and tell me it's going to be 100,000 more. I'd much rather go the other way.
When are the cost estimates due?
They haven't even done the design piece yet. It's just, like I said, I just want to put it on the committee's radar that eventually we're going to probably need to look to appropriate that money. And that's what it was intended for. It was specifically capital projects. It's not something we're just going to sit on forever. Obviously, the boilers here are a big problem, so we need to address it. It seems like the right place to address it with that money.
Move on to tomorrow's vote.
Okay. A lot of this information is information that all of you have already seen before, but I just want to underscore the importance again of what we're doing tomorrow and how important that override vote in Mendon is. I don't know, Sam, if you can get it so that anybody watching this can see my screen. Perfect, thank you, Sam. But again, a review of where we've been. As you know, this committee back on March 15th certified a budget for the coming school year for the amount of $39,990,339. And we knew it was going to be a substantial increase, a little bit more than a 6.6% increase, or nearly 2.5 million from this current year spending. But if you recall, almost to the dollar prior to the pandemic, the original FY21 budget request was in that same exact range. And again, we're in this situation where over 3/4 of this increase is merely to keep level services. That is, to keep our existing programs, services, and staff in place. And as we've discussed, the 7 positions that are above level services really kind of speak to giving what our kids need coming out of the pandemic, or 2 of those positions are restorations of 2 positions that were cut 2 years ago. And again, specifically talking about these services, we've talked about how at Memorial we're expecting a little bit of an enrollment bump, and there's concerns about class sizes of 25 and 26 in this year's 3rd grade going up to 28, 29. So as a result, there's an increase there. We've talked a lot about the need to address social emotional health and well-being, and the need for 2 school adjustment counselors, one here at Nipmuc and one at MISCO. And then also the need of really teachers that really have a depth and breadth of experience and expertise to work as elementary instructional coaches, really working to craft interventions for our students who might be falling behind due to the pandemic. And then, as I mentioned, the 2 restoration positions, specifically the library and media specialist position here at Nipmuc, and the technology support assistant district-wide. And again, now being a 1-to-1 district with all of our students, elementary students included, having devices that tech support position is really of critical need. So as we've talked, the increase in Mendon, again, with each successive year, there's more of a burden vis-a-vis the state funding formula. We are receiving the absolute bare minimum in Chapter 70 or state aid. We get the bare minimum of $30 additional per student. So as a result, the increases and really the onus for the increase falls to our two communities. So our assessments was an increase of $821,495 from the town of Mendon, and nearly $1.5 million of an increase to the town of Upton. And as we discussed, this is a little bit of an aberration. It's a bit of an outlier, if you will, for the simple reason that this year, according to the funding formula, the MLC, or the minimum local contribution, was skewed much more towards Upton than it was for Mendon. And hence, we've got that delta, a very significant delta, over $600,000 in the increases to the two communities. So what we haven't covered is what happened, let's see now, 9 days ago during our two town meetings. So at the town meeting on Saturday morning, the 8th in Upton, Upton decided to put all of that increase to a vote at the town meeting, and there was no Proposition 2.5 override. So about $1 million of it came from the town's 2.5 levy limit plus new growth, and then a separate article for about $436,000 was approved as an article because it was a transfer from free cash. So as a result, the town of Upton did approve our assessment for our operational budget for next year. In Mendon, something interesting, but one of my first slides is the increase of about $828,000. Just about all of it is being put to an operational override. So that override amount of $803,338 is being put to an override. And I do want to underscore the point that that is kind of breaking with the tradition, breaking with the norm. Usually there's a 50-50 split of whatever the 2.5 override plus new growth is. So per state law, an override must pass at the annual town meeting and then also pass at the ballot. It did pass at the annual town meeting by a fairly close margin, 85 to 71, and it also must pass at the ballot box tomorrow. So hence my point is tomorrow's vote is extremely important in us finalizing our budget, to say the least. So it's a very simple one-page ballot, and I believe there's only one question on the ballot, and that single question is for the operational override of $803,338. So again, I've made this point at least 2 or 3 times, but again, 77.1% of our operational budget, really the key drivers, are things that we need to maintain level services. And obviously, the largest piece is our salaries, our benefits, but we also have a situation where we have a perfect storm of other expenses, things that we need, like updating our textbook series, things like renewal of digital licenses for various textbook series, particularly at the secondary level, things like out-of-district tuitions for students with really significant needs who may have moved into our school district. So things like that are beyond the realm of our control, we must keep up with to maintain level services. And again, that remaining 22.9% of our increase represent the strategic investments, those positions, an investment in athletics, particularly here at the high school, seeing that there was a significant loss of revenue due to lack of gate receipts due to COVID restrictions. And then also some of our unanticipated increases that we have, particularly in student services. And we've talked about our growing English language learner population and some of the needs for various services for those students. So I do want to underscore this simple point that I think a lot of times people lose sight of, that yes, the override amount is for $803,338. If the override fails, that's obviously funding that we would not access from the town of Mendon. But being a regional school district, the two towns always have to be in a proportional ratio as far as their contributions. So actually, if we do not access that $803,000 of funding from Mendon, that means we would also not access $1,357,000 from Upton. Okay, even though it's already been approved by the town of Upton, we could not access that. So as a result, the district would lose over $2.1 million in funding for next year's budget. So with that type of loss, we would end up with a budget of about $37.8 million, which would represent about a 0.87% increase over our current fiscal year. Okay, it's incredibly difficult to manage a budget with that small of an increase. And the fact of the matter is, with that type of loss of magnitude of 2.1 million, it would be devastating. And you'd be talking about the cuts of program services and probably in the ballpark of about 40 professional and support staff throughout the district, affecting all 4 schools. So the bottom line is what this actually means, were we to sustain these types of cuts, is you'd be talking about class sizes in the ballpark of 28 to 32 across the board, elementary, middle school, and high school. And again, when you have to make cuts this deep, you do what you can to keep the academic core intact. So a lot of our elective areas, particularly at the secondary level, you know, in the arts, in music, world languages, business, and so on, we'd be looking at reductions there. And I think also, really for our students who have some of the greatest needs and need those academic interventions and social emotional supports, there would be fewer programs and services for those students. I think automatically we'd kind of go back to the future of where we were 11 or 12 years ago in making our athletics programs completely self-funded based upon user fees and therefore dramatic increases, and then also cuts in our instructional supplies and technology. And again, when you need to make cuts of this magnitude, the first place you don't go to staff first, you take a look at every single one of your line items, but keep in mind the technology and the instructional supply is but a small fraction of the overall budget compared to what you have in personnel. And again, we've talked about this last year, the concern about not restoring that library media specialist position and potential adverse action to be taken against our regional high school with our accreditation agency, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, or NEAS. So again, I'm not doing this for scare tactics. I'm doing this to kind of paint a very realistic picture if the support is not there for this override vote tomorrow. And again, as we said during the last meeting, without appropriate support, you're going to have a downward spiral. And I know a lot of our parents may have not lived in the community or had children in the district from the years 09 to 11, when literally this district lost about 30% of its staff in a very short period of time, in 2 or 3 fiscal years. But you will end up with regression, that the things that have made our district special, having appropriate class sizes where we can tend to individual student needs, having a successful programs in the electives and the arts and the music, the work that's been done, particularly here at Nipmuc with Chris Schmidt in leading the athletics program, the district-wide emphasis on social emotional learning. If we have to sustain these cuts, all of these pieces that you see in the diagram will take a very much a significant hit. And again, conversely, we've talked numerously about a cycle of overrides, and it's generally been 5 years is needed to sustain our districts. And we are confident with this support, we will sustain our district like we have since 2015 in having programs that really speak to the whole child. And with this support, we know our kids will be resilient, and they will grow. They will grow academically, they'll grow socially and emotionally. So again, I can't underscore the importance of tomorrow, the 18th, and as it usually is for every town election, it is from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the MISCO gym. And I can't underscore enough how much the regional school district needs your support tomorrow to keep us afloat. So any questions on any of that?
No, I don't have any questions anymore.
I do want to underscore as well, I am hopeful, I am cautiously optimistic of a successful outcome, but I do think as a committee, should we not be successful, in very, very short order, maybe Friday, possibly a week from today, because we need the 48 hours to post it, you will have to reconvene as a committee to make a decision, seeing that we will have a split where Upton has already approved the funding for the FY22 budget, and should this not pass tomorrow, you will not have a budget, you will not have approval from the town of Mendon.
Understood.
We will not have to do that. People will come out and support the schools tomorrow. So lastly, we have we're recognizing our outgoing school committee member.
So cheerful. So cheerful.
9 years.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Deeply grateful to the voters of Mendon, who hopefully will all turn out tomorrow as well, who entrusted me with this seat. When I think about when I came on 9 years ago, where we were and how far we've come, it's really heartwarming, and I feel like we've served our families and students, very well. I'm hoping that the vote tomorrow continues that progress. It's been an honor to serve with all of you, and please be in touch, if you need a parliamentarian, a picky proofreader, a policy wonk, I'm definitely, my door is always open, you guys know how to find me. So I wish you guys every success in the future. I know, there's always gonna be challenges, but we work as a really good team here, and, this district is really just very special. So thank you all, I appreciate it.
Do you have a good anecdote you could share with us from 9 years ago?
Oh, no, I'm getting old.
Thank you for your service.
We will miss you, especially
Yeah, sure.
when you make a motion incorrectly.
We always have a chair for community comments. So you're always welcome.
Do we have any correspondence?
We do not. We do, and I believe you were involved in that correspondence back and forth from Senator Fatman's office. They were slated to be at this meeting to kind of give an update on the Senate budget and where they felt things would be landing. But the latest correspondence is both Senator Fatman and Senator Moore will be attending. And I think we'll probably do the hybrid virtual thing at our next meeting on June 7th.
Okay, did it not get pushed to the next one, or? A meeting in June.
Yes, June 7th.
Any other matters not anticipated by the committee within 48 hours of the posted meeting? And so future agenda items, school committee reorganization, June 7th, and the updates from Senator Stratton and Moore also on June 7th. And with that, I will make a motion to roll call to executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exemption number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with the Regional Teachers Association, because doing so in open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session.
Second. Hold the other eye.
Mary Lawrence, aye. Martin, aye.
Vicky Lopez and I.
Sean Nicholson, aye.
Thank you, everyone.
That was so.
Yes.
Please vote